或者是未来的粉丝。我们今天有很多未来的粉丝，对不对哦？对。今天听我来的，真的哇，谢谢你来。对，中就要。That's cool。对，然后今天真的很难得，因为Dr. Tan他真的好忙啊。然后我跟他说你一定要来哦，他就说好。Dr. Tan so can speak Cantonese today.
Oh, okay.
Actually, Dr. Tan can speak Cantonese 跟英文。好，那我们有 translate 那个 Rosalie。Maybe we need you. Yeah. 不会啦，已经很忙了。
Don't worry. The slides are already by
因为大家都要讲英文。对。听懂广东话的举手。广东话。
Oh, okay. So okay.
So maybe you can.
Actually, it's.
哦，好，你们要做笔记的，对不对？
Yeah.
好，给我们几张白纸。对。
The slides are in Chinese too. 中文、英文。
哦，中文讲得很好。
嚇？
對啊，越來越好。
我廣東話係 so problem，但係我講國語。
幾好㗎啦。那今天很難得，因為尤其是我們今天有周組長認識20年，今天有人居然 PK 我說認識你40幾年了。对啊，那组长其实是在我们这边科技界做很多的事情哦。后来 retire 之后就在 Stanford 做 volunteer， 尤其是在 Stanford Liver Center， 所以我们真的很高兴。那我很快呢，跟大家讲一下我们最近几个很好的活动，是我们8月21号有个蒋勋的慈善演讲。那我们买购票的70%都是 as a donation 到我们这个机构来。那我们的钱用来做什么呢？当然就是服务癌友。像我们上个礼拜出了3部 bus。带他们到那个 Asia Museum 去看那个故宫的那个珍宝，大家都玩得很高兴，对不对？今年没参加到的，明年可以来报名参加啊。那9月23号呢，我们是特别为我们所谓的 caregivers 呢，帮他们办了一个 supporting 的一个分享的一个座谈会。那是在9月23号，到时候我们会再发通知给你们，因为我们发现其实病人很辛苦，其实照顾他的人呢，绝对不会比他不辛苦。这样有听懂哦？就是也很辛苦，他们的压力哦，跟他们要处理的事情，其实都比病人还要在身心上面的压力都很大，所以他们也是一批我们觉得可以互相 support 的力量，对不对啊？那10月2号呢，非常高兴，就是我们的年会啊，我们年会也是在老地方，在 Dianza College。那我们这些 information 我们都会在我们的网站上，或者如果您没有上网，或者说没有 email 的话，我们也可以寄给你。或我们今天这边有一些 information。那特别要强调，10月2号这次节目非常丰富 ，Barbara 要为我们唱歌剧。票是免费的哦，哈，而且一票难求，所以大家今天要票就可以登记了，好不好？他是 cancel 他去 Hong Kong 的 trip 来帮我们唱。然后另外呢，我们还请了王心莲，就是台湾很有名的民歌手。另外 Dr. Tan 呢，请了 Hong Kong 来的一个非常有名的 oncologist， 也会来帮我们做一场演讲。所以呢，有 inspiring， 有非常好的表演，然后又有 very knowledgeable 的，像是有一些癌症方面的分享，所以一定要来2个小时，一定会让你觉得很丰富，很丰富。是时间2点。2点钟，对，这是一个啥？2 to 4。好。Actually that's Sunday。有时候看场地，好，那我就不耽误大家时间，让我们欢迎Dr. Tan。让大家把握机会，好好问他问题。
So I'm going to speak English, right? So then nobody gets confused. I speak 我講廣東話仲難聽過講國語。Okay, so 今日講肝炎 ，we talk about liver cancer today. Oh, hello. Okay, 聽到我嘛 ？Okay, so 肝炎 is 喺美國嚟講，喺 in America, liver cancer is rare. So only 10,000, 15,000 cases a year. So not very many cases, and so that's why the research into liver cancer is limited, and the advances is not very high. Today I'm going to tell you pretty much most of what we now have to treat, how to treat liver cancer, and why we think this is relatively rare. In China, It's the same problem, only difference is that there's a lot more hepatitis. And so many patients come the cancer in China is from hepatitis. 肝炎. In Magog, it's rarely 肝炎, but only 5% of people with hepatitis B in the US, compared to 25% in China, or in Asia in general. So that's a big problem. And the only solution to that is in liver cancer is to prevent it. As you will see when you look at the treatment options, it's not great. There's only so many things you can do. Okay. So this is a worldwide map of liver cancer, and so you see that very little in Canada, but then there's not very many people in Canada. The U.S., Brazil, China. You see, the more darker the color, the higher the concentration of liver cancer. So and then Africa, of course, and a little bit of Australia. Not much in Europe. Now here is not because they don't have liver cancer, this we don't know. Because there's no data. Okay, but for the big country, Western Europe, the liver cancers are not as common as in Asia. Now in France, it's very high because they drink too much. So a lot of cirrhosis in France. And after you hear it, you understand why, who gets liver cancer and why. Okay, these are all the causes of liver cancer. We change it to the Chinese version. Okay, this is the kind that is acquired. You get it after you're born. These you get when you're born. You're born with the problems. So first of all, in the diseases that you can acquire after you're born, hepatitis B, hepatitis C, alcohol-related liver disease. This is primary biliary cirrhosis, which is rare. This is a disease where your body attacks the bile system in the body and causes liver cirrhosis. And these are non-alcoholic liver disease, many of them due to fatty liver. Fatty liver can come from diabetes, but it doesn't have to be. Some people just get fatty liver for no good reason, and there's no treatment for it. Then after that, you talk about a lot of toxins, and then schistosomiasis, which we don't get here in the United States. Okay, but these are worldwide. The vast majority, 95% of the liver cancer caused by these problems. Okay, and these two is something, and these three is preventable. These I'm not so sure. Okay, now on the other side are the disease that you get when you're born. So there's a disease called hemochromatosis or Hitzig-Bang, which is overload of iron. So your body hyper-absorb iron, and the iron gets dumped into the liver, and that's what damages the liver, and it causes liver cirrhosis, and that's what causes cancer. And then a very rare disease called Wilson disease causes copper deposition in the liver, same issue. And then another one called porphyria cutanea tarda. It's an inborn error of metabolism. So you cannot break down certain byproducts of blood metabolism, and the junk get deposited in the skin and the liver. Again, same issue. Liver cirrhosis. Tyrosine, very rare. Alpha-1 antitrypsin, also very rare. These are diseases that affect your ability to metabolize certain products of metabolism. And then glycogen storage disease. All these things put together, well, except for the first one, it's less than about 1% or less of all liver cancer, very rare. Okay, this one in the U.S. is one of the more common causes. This one and the liver cancer and the drinking are the most common in the Western countries. So in the U.S., you look at people around you. Here, nobody drinks too much. I don't drink, but in China, people do drink. And especially sometimes people who have hepatitis B and drink, then you get double whammo. Then there's a multiplicative effect. Okay. So then people talk about alpha-fetoprotein. Problem alpha-fetoprotein is a good test, but it's not foolproof because alpha-fetoprotein can be normal in people with liver cancer. So not everybody has high alpha-fetoprotein levels. So if you just use this test as a screening test, it's not quite good enough. I mean, you miss about at least a quarter to 1/3 of cases, which is a lot. And so you have to use a combination of scanning and blood tests to really know. Okay. Now this is how liver damage occurs. You start out being a normal liver, then you go to become a fatty liver. Now fatty liver, why you get fatty liver? Fatty liver is a response to injury. So if you, let's say, starve yourself, don't eat for a few days, many people have developed the fatty liver. It's the body's response to that stress. And it turns out that many things that can cause fatty liver, including diabetes, but not exclusively. Most people with diabetes don't get fatty liver. Most people with fatty liver don't have diabetes. So it's not, but it's just one way that the liver can be damaged. If this goes on for a long, long time, then you start to get fibrosis, okay, liver fibrosis. Or basically the liver to turn into kind of a dead tissue. Before it gets cirrhosis, they're really dead. But fibrosis, they just inflame, chronically inflame. And so at this point, you still have no symptoms because the liver can sustain you. You only need 25% of your liver to have normal function. So that means you need 75% of your liver before you really start to feel a problem, which is one of the problems that it's not easy to find early on. So you have to look for the problem. And then finally, you become cirrhotic, which is now the liver is like a rock. It's pretty much dead tissue. And people talk about regeneration. Well, you know, honestly, most of us don't live long enough to have it regenerated. Okay, even if you stop the process, whatever it is, and the liver regenerates, it takes over 10 years. So it's not realistic. So people think that, oh, you can regenerate your liver quickly. No, you can't. That's one of the fundamental problems, okay? You only got one liver too, by the way, so you cannot, it's not like a kidney where you can have a kidney transplant and you only have to lose one kidney. So, yeah.
Could I ask a question over here?
Sure.
Because you mentioned about the regeneration.
Yes.
I thought the liver is the largest organ we have. Also, as I understand, it's the only organ it can regrow. You mean you can have?
Yeah, I agree. It does, but it does take a long time. It's a time problem.
Oh, it's a time problem.
Right. You know, the liver. Let's say you stop whatever the damage is today.
Yeah, you cut half of it. It's still okay.
Yeah, but it takes 10 years to regenerate the tissue. So for most people, realistically, it doesn't happen. So you get, let's say you have liver cirrhosis from alcohol, and you stop taking alcohol. For 20 years, it might take that long to recover the damage from that.
Could I ask a further question?
Sure.
I don't know whether there's any application or not. Using the stem cell, will it promote the growth?
Not as of today. Okay, that's a lot of hype about stem cells.
Yes.
Okay, it's all hype. 95% is hype. We have very few stem cell-based therapy. Not that we don't try, we just haven't been successful. So you know, we put $5 billion into the California stem cell program, and I don't know, we haven't seen anything really good come out of it yet. And I'm not so sure anything will in the next few years. So you have normal liver, then you got cirrhosis, then you get cancer. Now from here to here is where the problem comes, okay? The body senses that it's losing the function of the liver. So the body is trying to regenerate the function and to stimulate the cancer. So usually that's what happens in many processes in cancer is that the body overstimulates whatever is damaged to try to recover from it. Same thing happened in liver cancer. I mean in stomach cancer, same issue. And so what happens is the stimulation causes increased cell turnover. So your normal is that you lose one cell, you create a new one to replace it. That's how the body works. If you lose a lot of it, then the body keeps trying to replace more. But if you're losing more faster than you can replace it, then you got a problem. And so the stimulation becomes higher and higher. And that stimulation is probably what causes cancer to develop, because as you stimulate more, there's more DNA turnover. And every time you turn over DNA, you make mistakes. And the more you stimulate, the more mistakes you make. That's why recurring inflammation causes cancer. It's because of this stimulation effect. And it's pretty much fundamental to why cancer develops. It's repeated inflammation. So that's why, you know, this is a long-term problem. So even even if you treat the cancer, if you don't remove the underlying cause, you're still going to have a problem later on. But anyway, so that's the staging of cancer, which is very simplistic, but it's very practical. So if you have one cancer, a single lesion, that's good. So most of these people can have the cancer removed. Unfortunately, very few cancers are found at this level. Okay, so if you can find it in a single spot in the liver, you can take it out surgically. However, location do matter. Then sometimes the cancer is in the wrong place, like in the back and upper part of the liver. That's not touchable. So sometimes the surgeon cannot operate in that area. So that's where you got some issues. So even a single lesion sometimes not treatable. Then the other, stage 2 is when you have 2 tumors, or 1 tumor but affecting 2 segments of the liver. And I'll show you that in the next slide. Then stage 3 is the cancer is already spread to adjacent parts of the body, like the stomach, the lymph nodes, and so on. And stage 4 is spread to the lung and that. That doesn't happen too often. But stage 3 is not that rare. So when you do transplant, you can't do it if you have stage 3 disease either, because the cancer is already outside the liver. And so even you transplant the liver, it still doesn't buy you time, but it doesn't cure anybody. Okay? So that's why there's a lot of controversy going around liver transplants, and I'll tell you more later about that. Now this is how the liver is divided, and it's based on blood supply. So it's not about location, it's the blood supply that determines which segment can be removed. So if you have a cancer in one segment, they can remove this section, and they'll be fine. However, if you have a cancer in here, and it's extended into here, you're not resectable, because these you cannot remove. These are the major blood supply to the whole liver. So you cannot, if the cancer goes into here, you cannot touch it. So big problem, right? So if you have one cancer that go across, let's say segment 7 and segment 8 are affected, you can remove both, it's okay. You can remove as much as 75% of the liver, but it's not easy. Okay, the bigger the operation, the more side effects.
Yeah. How do you know which portion? Is a CT scan? Is that good?
No, well, CT is one way. They have a lot more techniques now. It's a special kind of CT. It's what they call triphasic liver CT. And then they also can do angiograms in the old days, where they put catheters into the artery and shoot the dye and see where the blood vessels go to. And there's characteristic finding around the liver, so you can tell which part of the liver is affected. Okay, so usually before you even talk about doing surgery, you have to make sure that you can cut off the blood supply to that area. And it's not like just taking a little spot.
Yeah, right.
You take out the whole region, right? Sometimes, yeah. And so because of this, we now have devised, this is not a new technology, this is 25 years old. This is called TACE, transarterial chemoembolization. And what that really means, is just a word, is they put a catheter in the artery side, and they go into the liver, and they shoot dye and see where the blood vessels are going. They know what the normal blood level is supposed to look like, so it looks something like this. So if you see a cancer, it looks like this. So you know, okay, this is where the cancer is. Now, what they then do is shoot chemotherapy drugs directly into the tumor from this, okay? It makes the tumor smaller. It doesn't cure. Okay, cure is not possible using this technology. It can control. You can do this multiple times, but it's not, it's technically challenging. Okay, it's not always doable, but this is one of the easier things to do. There's one option. The other option is ablation. And ablation is basically, it's an easy way, it's a way of doing surgery without doing surgery. So you basically put a probe into where the cancer is, and you inject things directly into it, which kills the cancer. Now remember, it also kills the tissue surrounding the cancer. So there's a limit to what you can do. If the tumor is too big, or there's too many areas, you can't do that either. So this is like simple because it's a single area. But what if you have multiple spots? Then it's difficult to do. But it can be done for most cases, especially if it's a big area that's causing pain. then you can inject, you can put a probe, and the probe could be just a needle, or it could be a microwave probe, or it could be a ice probe. So there are different ways to do it. You can inject alcohol, you can use what they call radio frequency, microwaves kind of thing, that will heat up that area and destroy it. Or you can use super ice cold probes that will freeze the tissue and kills it. So all those technology is the same idea, but they're all local control only. Because you cannot control when you do these things where the energy goes. Okay, like you put a probe in, it's like you put a point in, and it's like a sphere. The energy goes out like this, so it destroys everything around that sphere. But you cannot control, you cannot do, shaping of the treatment. So okay, hope that's not too confusing. But so they have microwave, they have ice, they have alcohol. Okay, they all work. Nowadays, people like to use the microwave because the machines are made that easier. In the old days, the ancient history days, like 20 years ago, we used alcohol. Okay, but radiofrequency ablation has been around a long time. And it does help prolong life a little bit, but it doesn't cure the cancer, okay? So this is a comparing surgical resection versus radiofrequency. Now just remember the number of cases are small. So this is the number of percent of patients who survive a number of years after the procedure. So if you do surgery, the first year, almost everybody lives, 93%. By the third year, only 80% alive. And by the fifth year, only 60% alive. Now, compared to the radiofrequency, it's not too far off. Now, but let me caution you though, these numbers are misleading because the people who do surgical resection are usually in better shape. And the cancer is probably easier to remove or smaller. The people with radiofrequency are usually not resectable right from the get-go. And also they don't, they may be sicker, so they cannot have the surgery. So therefore, these are not actually comparing apple to apple, they're comparing apples to oranges, okay? But at least it's given an idea how successful each one is. And the answer is that they're not that successful. So even in the cases where you can do resection, only 40% people only 60% people actually survive. That means 40% are still gonna die of the cancer. And disease-free interval means that you can make the disease go away, but it comes back. So even after surgical resection, the recurrence rate is still 17 to 20%. So it's not small. All right.
Excuse me.
Yeah.
I wonder, do you have the information when you folded the age into this distribution?
Actually, amazing enough, not that important.
Oh, the age is not important.
Age is not important. The thing that's really important is the liver status. And you'll see that later. I'll show you how you decide who should do it and who shouldn't. It's a thing called performance status. And then, of course, the ultimate treatment is liver transplant. And you basically, this is the bad liver. You have to cut off the blood vessel here, cut off the blood vessel here, cut off all these blood vessels, take this whole thing out and put a new one in. And when you put a new one in, everything will be hooked up. This is the hard. This part is not easy. So, and of course, you remember, someone has to give the liver. That means someone has to die to give you the liver. So this is not like kidney. You can donate one kidney and have the other one, you'll be fine. But liver, you cannot donate the liver and survive. So most of the people you get it from liver from are from car accidents. So people are healthy. Now, the way it works is that, let's say someone dies and they end up in the hospital. Then if they can find the donor card, or they find the family is willing to donate, then they will call the transplant center up. Hey, we have a healthy person who has a liver and eligible for transplant. So you have about maybe 10 hours to 12 hours to, they have to keep the person physically still alive somewhat, on a ventilator or whatever, and then they fly the team in. The team will open the patient up, the dead person, and then look at the liver to see if the liver is healthy. Sometimes you don't know. When you open the liver up, oh, the liver is damaged, or they find out the patient has bad disease. So you don't want to transplant a kidney that has hepatitis in it already to somebody else. So that's or HIV. So they will automatically do those blood tests. So the team comes in, take out the liver, fly it back to wherever they come from, and put it in the patient. Yeah, the best transplant center in the country, well, in the California is UCLA. They do more liver transplant than anyone else. Everybody else put together is less than them. So the setup is incredible. So you have to be ready 24/7 to do this because you don't know when the liver is going to be available. Yeah.
Usually when I heard about the liver transplant, I heard it was compatibility.
Yes.
So what does it mean?
Well, size.
Or size?
Yeah, and also whether you have the right blood types. You have to fit there's certain criteria. I'm not a transplant specialist, but there's a list of things you have to match. So not every liver is available for everyone.
Yeah, it used to be the best place to find one is in mainland China.
Yeah, I wouldn't do that. Now they get those, they should be able to get
Try
those.
to probe the situation. Yeah.
Right, well, I wouldn't do it. Because many people in China are deceased. I mean, they have problems inside, and they don't necessarily test them. And sometimes the testing is false. So I wouldn't trust anything in China, okay? I hate to say it, their system is not very good. All right? I mean, I have friends and family who went and had kidney transplant and had nothing but trouble afterwards. Okay, so it's the same issue. Anyway, but liver transplant is a big problem because they don't have the system in China. How are you going to get this thing to the body of the recipient within so many hours? See, that's the problem. So this is very high-tech, high labor, high investment in resources in order to make this happen properly. Okay. So for liver transplant, it probably isn't the answer. There's never going to be enough donors. Okay. So this is the transplant data. So if you're lucky enough to get a transplant, notice how small the number of cases are. So these are in transplant centers all over the United States. And usually the first year, everybody do pretty good. At 5 years, they still do pretty good. So the chance of cure with the transplant is 75%, if you can get a transplant. That's the problem. Now, you hear a lot of celebrities getting transplant for the liver, and the usually is because they got money, and they're willing to pay a lot of money to get it. So it's not an equitable system. I feel that it's not good. A lot of the transplant registries, every hospital or every transplant center have those. And they prioritize who gets the next transplant. And so the sicker you are, the higher your priority, okay? But then there's celebrities who, like Steve Jobs, before he died, had a liver transplant, which I think is ridiculous because it's like it won't help him because his cancer came from outside the liver. So even if you transplant the liver, the cancer can still come back. So it's kind of a waste. Same thing with Ricky Mantle when he died, same problem, so on and so forth, okay?
All the rejection can all the rejection be overcome by the chemistry and drugs?
Yeah, I mean, once you find a compatible situation, rejection is usually not the biggest issue. We're very careful about who we select for transplant. So when we do get a transplant, usually rejection is not the biggest problem. Okay. Problem is getting.
I have questions here. This kid has a biliary atresia case. Need to get transplant from parents.
Right.
And so that's should be part of a liver. It's not the whole liver.
Right. But those are very rare cases.
Okay.
Those are very, very specialized, and you have time.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Those are something that is a pediatric transplant type thing, which you may get by with a partial liver transplant. Okay. Yeah, but it's not a simple thing, right? Because you have to resect part of the liver from a living donor and then transplant it to the baby. Okay, that kind of thing.
But there's no like a blood vessel cut and then resolve for that?
Same problem.
Part of it.
Same thing. I mean, the liver is built in, right? So you have to replace the
How
part.
the parent can cut just part of it?
Well, you can live half a liver.
Oh.
Yeah, but I don't think anybody here is going to report the operation to remove part of the liver is a big deal. Okay, there's a lot of complications that can come with that. It's not a minor thing. Removing a kidney is easy. Removing liver is not easy. Yeah, in fact, it has to be done by special surgeons. Everything has to be specialized. So only a few centers in the country can do that. Okay, so that's one of the problems. Okay, so most of the patients are not going to get transplant, so how are we going to treat them? So treatment options depends on these things. This is assuming you already cannot have surgery, okay? So number one, performance status. So this is how well you can function. So a performance level of 0 means you're absolutely normal. Okay, most people here is performance status 0. Level 1 means that you can function but with effort. Okay, you cannot probably, you're gonna have trouble working, but you know, you can probably work part-time, you don't have enough energy to work full-time, or what, I mean, this applies to all cancer types, this is not just liver cancer, but this is a good indication of what kind of shape you're in. Level 2 means that you are really impaired. Most people with level 2 performance status cannot work. They don't have enough energy or the concentration, or they have to take a lot of medications to support themselves. So it's difficult. Anything greater than 2 is bad. See, when you have level 3, that means you're spending half your day in bed. That means you're so weak, you couldn't make it out of bed half the day. So that's pretty bad. So when we get to level 3, level 4, you're really not going to do well with any treatment we give you. Okay, we can do things to relieve pain, but really, you know, any real treatment is likely not going to be tolerable. That's true for any cancer type. Okay, so that's why some people tell me, oh, I got level, not just like stage, this is performance status though, okay? So people ask me, who should I get treated? I said, the first thing is they have to come to my office. If they cannot make it to my office, they're probably at level 3 already. Okay, so then treating those patients are likely not going to do well. Someone comes to my office in a wheelchair because they couldn't walk in. For whatever reason, they have a bad performance status. So not for someone, let's say, who has a stroke and is paralyzed on one side, those people are not going to do well with chemotherapy. Okay, so that tells you it's not just the cancers, it's an overall performance status. So anybody with over 2 is probably not eligible. Then there's a liver measurement, how bad the liver function is. There's an A, B, and C, and they look at liver function that's called bilirubin, albumin, prothrombin time, the presence of ascites, which is fluid buildup in the abdomen, so it's like you blow up a balloon, and hepatic encephalopathy, which means your brain is not functioning right. And all these have to do with liver function. So the liver is bad, like bilirubin high. If the bilirubin level is normal is 1. If it goes over 3, you become jaundiced. So anybody who's jaundiced, the bilirubin minimum is 3, probably higher. And then albumin is a reflection of the ability of the liver to make nutrition. You need albumin to maintain balance in your body. So if you cannot make albumin, then your liver is really bad. So when I take one look at some of the blood tests and you see albumin of 1, they're in big trouble. That person probably not going to survive, okay? Because the liver cannot make what you need. Prothrombin time is sort of a functional definition. It's basically the clotting factors. So if you cannot make the clotting factors to make your blood clot, that means your liver is so weak, it cannot do those things. These are very fundamental things that the body does. And if you cannot do that, and the prothrombin time is high, it's almost equal to you taking Coumadin. And so people complain they have internal bleeding. But really, what it reflects is how bad the liver is in terms of function. Ascites is basically a measurement of the pressure of the blood vessel that feeds that go to the liver. So portal hypertension gives you ascites. And what happens is that your blood comes from the intestines, go to the liver, and if the pressure in the liver is high, it'll back up, so the blood flow becomes reversed. So the blood doesn't go to the liver, it goes to the spleen and elsewhere. And so that's another indication. Hepatic encephalopathy means that you cannot detoxify the toxins in your body. So your body has to detoxify nutrients. And the protein become ammonia. And if the ammonia level goes to the brain, you become confused, even comatose. So people who have a problem with the mental status and all that, it's not going to do well. That's a sign that the liver function is so poor that it's really not going to do well with treatment. Location tumor matters, right? So some areas you cannot do radiofrequency ablation because the area is too hard to reach, or the tumor is too big. Then other comorbid conditions such as heart disease, stroke, things like that, if they are very severe, it also makes it too risky to treat you. Okay, so not everybody can get every treatment. A lot depends on what kind of shape you're in. So this is a kind of the Barcelona clinic, it's in Spain, but they did this, and they classify people according to these things. They look at the stage of the cancer, they look at the performance status, they look at the liver status, and they put the stage 0, which is the lowest risk, you try to remove those, because usually those are the small tumors, and they usually do very well. Early stage cancer, a single tumor or up to 3 nodules, but will have to be less than 3 centimeters, excellent performance status, no symptoms basically, and then you can either have a transplant, or you can have radiofrequency ablation, or alcohol ethanol injection. So one of these 2 options is there. Once you get to advanced disease, then you're really bad. So the case the cancer has spread, or the performance status is marginal, and the liver function is marginal, you can try chemoembolization, like the TACE therapy, or you can do chemotherapy. Stage D, forget it. You try to treat these patients, you're probably going to kill them faster. So that's how. So when we see patients, we see which category they fall into, and that will shape our thinking, what we can do for them at that moment. So chemoembolization, just to reiterate how that's done, put an artery into the artery, a catheter in the artery, feed where the tumor is being fed, then drugs are injected into the tumor directly. And that seems to work. That was a major advance because most patients cannot have that. And there are 2 types of TACE. One is to do chemotherapy agent, just inject drugs into that area. The other one is use beads, drug-eluting beads. These are, I think they're non-destructible spheres on which the drugs are put on top of it, and they shoot into where the tumor is, and they let it sit there. And so over time, it will try to destroy the cancer. This is just a fancy way of doing the first part. The problem with doing the chemo part is that as soon as you inject it, chemo doesn't last very long and goes away. This one, the chemo stays a bit longer. Okay, so how good are these treatments? So this is let's say these are some of the better patients. And you can see that 63% of them have a really good response. But remember, these cases, this is a very small study. This is a number of cases, this is the percentage of patients. So, you talk about 10 cases, 63% of those patients out of this group do well with the beads. And this is the regular TACE. So you look at it, by this study, it says, oh wow, the beads are much better than the conventional TACE. Another study, looking at people with a slightly impaired performance status, nobody gets a complete response. Some people get smaller tumors. Again, there's almost a 2-to-1 in terms of effectiveness. And if there are multiple lobes involved, there's still a difference, but not as great. And then if this cancer comes back, so we're now doing it multiple times, the effectiveness is there's still a difference between the beads. So this study basically shows that the beads are better than the standard conventional chemotherapy, but a little bit, not a whole lot. Okay, so let's say you've already done TACE, or you cannot do it anymore. Just remember, when you do TACE, it damages the liver tissue in that area too. So you cannot do it indefinitely. You can do it a few times, but you cannot do it over and over again. Then there's one drug that we have found. This is the only one. It's called sorafenib, and it's a biological drug. Unfortunately, this drug will be used to treat kidney cancer for many years, so I'm familiar with that. And they compared it to no treatment at all, placebo. And what they found was that there's a slight benefit. The blue line is the sorafenib, and the yellow and the orange line is the no treatment. So this is time, and this is how many of them are disease or they're not progressing. So you see there's a slight benefit, but not huge. And you look at survival, it's pretty close to being the same. So this is a drug that is the best we got, but it's not very good.
This sounds very discouraging.
It is discouraging. You're right, it's very discouraging.
after so much trouble went through, and with the same thing, with or without it.
Right. You're right. Absolutely right.
That means we don't understand what's going on yet.
Oh, we haven't found the right tools.
Thank you.
Okay? It'll take another 10 years at about $10 billion. That's what it would take.
Which pharmaceutical company is selling those drugs?
I forgot the name of the company, but this is the only drug that was able to show a benefit. There are many others that have been tried, but none of them were able to show even any benefit. So this is one of the few. Yeah.
Yeah, you use the words very carefully, but you indicate the result of the study.
Yes.
The study, that's really mean the treatment. So we don't know, we try to find out.
Right.
That's the basic idea.
Because right now, aside from this drug,
Yeah.
there's no other drug that has been able to show that is beneficial compared to
I heard
treatment.
about is instead of single drug, they use, say, the mix.
I know that.
Yeah,
Yeah, we couldn't
that's
show a
complicated
benefit.
things, quite
No, we
a bit.
couldn't show a benefit. It's not that we're stupid. We tried everything. It doesn't work.
Thank you. You're very honest.
I'm brutally honest.
Yeah.
So you want to hear good news, don't come to me. You get good news because you do well, not because I say things are well. But you see, again, this is another trial, same thing. So they're not very encouraging. This is another one with taste versus just taste alone. Again, benefit is very marginal. Okay? So we don't know where this drug is not. I'm not that crazy about recommending this drug to patients because I don't feel that it's life-saving. But if you say I want something to be done, young patient, I would try it. Okay? But the drug probably will have a benefit that lasts maybe 6 to 12 months. And that's about it. So it will fail even if it was successful initially. It was fail down the road. Okay?
Could you elaborate a little bit further? Since the result is the same, it's because the drug or because maybe create some new problem, so-called side effect?
No, it's the cancer is resistant. Yeah. 95 times out of 100 when the treatment doesn't work, it's not because of side effects. It's because of the resistance to the drug. Okay? And that's where the biggest problem is in cancer. It's not the, and again, so survival is not affected, and so on. So, so unfortunately, study after study, this is the only one that actually show a slight benefit in survival. The blue line is the sorafenib. The patient lived on average 10.7 months versus placebo, which there's no treatment at all, and the patient lived about 8 months. So it's a 2 months difference. Okay, not great. So what they do is they go to 50%, and they draw a line down, and they compare the intervals in time. That's how they get what they call disease-free survival, median disease-free survival. Okay, so now this is better. This is time to progression. The other one is just survival. This one says how long it takes before the cancer gets worse again. Well, if you do use sorafenib, you're basically looking at these numbers. So there's a separation of maybe 50, almost 30, 40%. Again, if it doesn't translate into long-term survival, it's not that meaningful. It buys you time. So you say you're looking for something to do, this is something you can do. And it has some benefit. Okay. Now, side effects of sorafenib, diarrhea, skin reactions, loss of appetite, a little bit of hair loss. None of these are severe. There are no severe toxicity, which is what they call grade 3 and 4. So they're all very single digits, very not severe. So the treatment itself, side effects, not a huge problem. It's really it's not that great. Okay, so conclusion. Liver cancer occurs in patient cirrhosis. That's a vast majority of cases throughout the world. And that's what makes it complicated. Because once you become cirrhotic, the rest of the body is already not functioning well because the liver cannot do what it's supposed to do. The liver is like a giant garbage disposal in a giant chemical detoxification plant. So when that doesn't work, a lot of bad things build up in your system. And the longer it goes, the worse it gets. Okay. So this Barcelona clinic staging system allow us to at least more intelligently select what to do for which group of patients. So it's not so arbitrary. Okay. But performance status is very important. So is the liver status. Those are the key things. Okay. And Chemoembolization is the best thing to do if you cannot do liver transplant or liver resection. And then sorafenib is the real only treatment option. There's been chemotherapy that was proposed, but many of the studies were inconsistent. One study showed it helped, the other study showed it didn't help, and so on. And basically, the bottom line is we need better treatment. Okay, the present treatments are very good. All right, so that's all I have to say. Any questions? I'll be happy to answer them. Thank you.
Could I say the improvement of treatment for the last 5 years hasn't really changed?
Haven't changed in 15 years.
Is that right?
Yeah, I mean, none of these things, we are not curing anybody with these treatments. Short of a liver transplant, none of the, or you have a small tumor you can resect, those are the only people who get cured.
Any indications in which direction we should go?
We're trying many things. We haven't found anything that's really promising. We hope that the new biological treatments can help us, but I'm not holding my breath. This is an extremely difficult disease to treat, mainly because the liver is such an important organ. If the liver doesn't work, you're in big trouble, and there's no way to get around it. See, if the kidney fails, you can do dialysis. You can live for many years with dialysis. If the liver fails, there's no options. Okay, so you don't have much to play around with.
But any improvement or understanding the early diagnosis, if you could predict when people are getting older may or may not?
Not really.
Oh, not really.
Yeah. See, the problem is in the U.S. you cannot screen too few people. So you have to spend a lot of money to screen, but only a few cases. In China, it's probably better, it's more useful to screen because a much larger percent of the population has it. But again, if you find out you have hepatitis B, there's no treatment to cure the hepatitis B, and the treatment is expensive. Hepatitis C can be cured, but it's extremely expensive. And the governments in Asia are not willing to spend the money to treat this. Okay, that's the problem.
What's the reason behind it?
Money. Of course, it's always money.
Yeah, it's always money.
Right. So the government don't want to spend the money to do it. Okay, they don't. I mean, in China, they don't even want to. I don't know in Taiwan whether they are immunizing people regularly. I mean, the U.S. is you do it with every kid now, men and boys and girls. Everybody gets it. No, they all get it before they're teenagers. So.
Question. Some pancreatic cancer patients they want to do a liver transplant.
I don't know why.
Just like Steve Jobs.
Yeah. So
no, that's an abuse of the system.
Oh, I see.
I hate to be so blunt about it. He should like to be transplanted.
There's some rumors say that he shortcut to get a
money.
liver. Is that possible?
Yeah, you pay a lot of money, someone will do a transplant for you. That doesn't mean it should be done. Yeah, a lot of celebrities pay millions of dollars to do a transplant. You know.
So there's a priority, what kind of patients will get it.
Right, but from the doctor's standpoint, it's who should get it, not about how much money you have. If you are bad, you shouldn't get it. Or like if you have lung cancer went to liver, there's no reason you should get a liver transplant. Because even if you transplant the liver, the cancer can go there again. So you're no better off after the transplant than before. Which is why it's a total waste. Yeah. Yes.
Yeah, for a while, I thought you could regrow a human organ, such as a liver, by using the stem cell selectively, regrow selectively. Yeah, just I was hoping these are very hard.
Yeah, that's probably Star Trek. Okay, I don't live in the Star Trek world. Star Trek.
Oh, Star Trek. You're still that far yet. So that far.
It's not. I just don't think that biologically it's doable.
But I saw cases that could grow your human ear. Right?
People can say a lot of things.
Oh, okay, that's
okay.
Okay.
But I know the reality. It's not like that. Okay, you cannot grow organs outside the body. Not only you can the organs, you have to have the blood vessels. Everything has to come with it. And you cannot grow an organ in the dish and then put it in the body. It doesn't work that way. The organ has to have blood vessels. It has to have ways to work with the rest of the body. So you cannot just grow the organ in isolation. So that's why that concept is not going to work.
Oh, okay. I use the words all very carefully. I say grow selectively.
Yeah, but the problem is selectively, but it doesn't integrate into the system. The body everything has to be integrated.
That's true, eventually.
Right. But no, it has to. Otherwise, it will not work at all. Right? I mean, what good is the liver if the blood supply doesn't go in and out properly? That's useless. Okay? We cannot take the blood vessels outside the body and put it in a machine and wash it and replace the function. It doesn't work that way.
But dialysis is the same thing.
No, but dialysis is stupid. It's easy. That's a machine kind of it's a plumbing, and then there's a filtering process that you can
yeah, a little bit different.
The liver is much harder because there's a lot more aspect to it, and also a lot of feedback control. Your body is very smart. It does a lot of things you don't have to think about. And then just because when you construct a system, you cannot possibly deal with so many different systems. And that's where the problem comes. Yes?
Yeah, my question is, if ultrasound shows liver has a mass, is that always malignant, or do we have to have a biopsy?
Of course. Well, okay, that's a very complex question. You don't realize how it's open a can of worms. Okay, so first of all, why do you even do an ultrasound in the first place, right? There's usually some reason, right? You're having pain, you're having some discomfort. That's why you're doing an ultrasound to look for something. Most commonly, you're looking for gallstones.
Because of hepatitis B carrier.
Right, okay, let me get to that. So, in many hepatitis patients who are cirrhotic, it is routine that they do scans to look for the disease. Okay, if you already have hepatitis B, and you have cirrhosis by function, then okay, not cirrhosis yet. We don't screen everybody hepatitis B with CT scans every year.
Right, ultrasound shows something.
Yeah, then you have to do a CT scan.
Yeah.
The ultrasound not good enough.
Right.
And then you have to see what it looks like. Is it one lesion or multiple lesions?
One.
And then you may need, and then you do a serum alpha-fetoprotein. If it's sky high, then it's probably liver cancer. If it's not sky high, doesn't mean it's not liver cancer, but it could be many other cancers. It's more common to have lung cancer go to the liver than it is for liver cancer to be present.
So my question really is, do we have to do biopsy in order to
If you know it's liver cancer, you don't have to.
Oh, so it doesn't have to do biopsy?
Yeah, but it's dangerous because it's bleeding. That's why we don't do liver biopsies in liver cancer most of the time. Okay. I mean, if you have a AFP of 400 and you have liver cirrhosis from hepatitis B, you can say that's a 95% probability this is liver cancer. If you don't have liver cirrhosis, you don't have hepatitis B, you just find a mass, then you have to biopsy because you don't know what it is. So sometimes, not all the tests are absolute. The serum alpha-fetoprotein is like, 25% of patients with liver cancer don't have alpha-fetoprotein elevation. Maybe even up to 35%.